Entrapment is easily one of the most misunderstood legal defenses among Americans and gun owners. You hear stories about federal agents setting up stings, cops asking people about, hey, do you want to buy this? Do you want to do that? And people just assume, hey, that's entrapment. But legally, you could have an ATF agent hand you an illegal, undocumented suppressor and say, go ahead, kid, take it. And it would not be entrapment. Let's clear up the confusion about what the feds are doing to you in your life with some examples and a clear and concise explanation for entrapment. So guys, let's get into it. So entrapment occurs when the government agent induces someone to commit a crime that they wouldn't have otherwise committed. So there's generally two requirements. There's two elements to it. One, the government must induce the crime, and two, you must lack the predisposition to commit it. In other words, this wasn't something that you were looking to do when you woke up that morning. Both of those are mandatory. One, the government must induce the crime, and two, you must lack the predisposition to commit it. If you're missing either one, maybe a bad day, but it's not entrapment. So here is what shocks most people. Merely offering you the opportunity to break the law, that's not inducement. If a cop offers you contraband, say an illegal firearm, scratched off serial numbers, that kind of stuff, and you take it, that's not entrapment. That's you making a choice under the law. So what entrapment is not? Let's kind of start here because people get this wrong all the time. Let's imagine that an undercover ATF agent posing as a firearms dealer is out there. That is not entrapment. If you are buying illegal firearms, ground off serial numbers, you're in a state, let's say, where you can't have, freedom and so forth. That's not necessarily entrapment, at least not by itself. An undercover agent offering to sell you unregistered suppressors, like I mentioned, that by itself, not entrapment because they're only offering to sell it to you. An agent asking if you want to buy a gun without a background check in some state where that's mandatory, not entrapment. Police are absolutely allowed to set elaborate traps, whether we're talking about firearms, prostitution stings, that show to catch a predator, you name it. Elaborate traps specifically designed to catch people breaking laws. And the trap itself isn't entrapment if you were already predisposed to breaking those laws. So that really kind of gets you to the question of what really is predisposition? What does that word really mean, brass tacks? This is where the law can get brutal. If prosecutors can show that you were already willing and ready to commit the crime, you lose the entrapment defense, period, full stop. This is called predisposition, and it's kind of the nuclear weapon that prosecutors deploy against entrapment claims. If you have a criminal history involving, for instance, firearms trafficking, then the predisposition is part of a firearm trafficking case that you got entrapped for. That's gonna be tough for you to pull off because after all, you've done it before. I'm not suggesting that that's fair. I'm not suggesting any of this is fair. Let me be clear. I'm catching up on where the law is. But here's the kicker. Even without a criminal record, your actions can demonstrate the necessary predisposition to hang you in court. If you, for instance, repeatedly searched online for illegal modifications or were known in gun circles as that person who's always willing to modify firearms for some cash, I'm on YouTube, can't say everything here, but you get the idea. Prosecutors will absolutely try to use that all against you, subject to other acts evidence and all this other kind of stuff. But you get the idea. What you put into your computer online, what you get out of it, the books you collect, all that kind of stuff is going to be the evidence that the prosecutors will use to manufacture the predisposition to get you when push comes to shove. So that's the real quick and dirty on predisposition. And we could talk about this for hours. If you guys all want to know more about this, let me know down in the comment field below. This whole thing is a super quick crash course. Let's talk about inducement. For true inducement to occur, police must do significantly more than simply present the opportunity to break the law. They must use, as some examples, persistent persuasion, coercion, threats, fraud, harassment. Those are all examples of things that might be coming up in court to show that, no, you were induced to commit the crime, which could have been purchasing the illegal firearm. It could have been any of those sorts of things. So to take a look at this, a court might ask something like, would the conduct have been such that a law-abiding citizen's willpower to obey the law could have overcome this? That's extraordinarily high. Merely soliciting or presenting an opportunity doesn't cut it. It doesn't do enough to create inducement. And yeah, if you think that some judge sitting in court is just going to hand out the answers you want to hear in court to those questions, I've got a bridge to sell you, okay? That's an old person quote. Kids, look it up, okay? But if the undercover agents have been harassing you, calling you around the clock, following you for blocks, saying that someone's going to be hurt if you don't buy or take whatever it is, okay, then you got it. If they lie and say, hey, this isn't a suppressor, and then, oh, by the way, it's a suppressor as you figure that out in court, right? Okay, that's fraud. Those are all examples of things that could constitute inducement and feed that entrapment defense. Hey, please excuse this brief interruption to bring you a word from our sponsor, me, or more specifically, my law firm. You see, what you may not know about me is I'm not only an ex-prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, but I employ a few dozen attorneys all over the great state of Wisconsin. My firm handles criminal defense, traffic law, divorce, family law, as well as estate planning all across the dairy state. We've got different wings of different attorneys doing different things, so you don't have to have some sort of just generalist handling your case should you decide to come in. So what's the ask? Well, look, if you've been with me for my journey of at this point about 10 years and counting, not all of them on my own YouTube channel, but about 10 years and counting of putting out free legal education content that's out there, first off, thank you for joining me and thanks for watching this video. And if all you can do is just keep watching, hitting the like button, sharing it around, commenting, thank you. And I really do mean that. However, if you want to take it one step further, please consider following the directions below, both in the description box as well as in a pinned comment down in the comment discussion field about how you can leave a 5-star review. So again, if you can do that, I tremendously appreciate it. Not only myself, but everyone else want to thank you for doing that too, because it helps us bring our mission across Wisconsin. Don't forget to stick around to the end of the video for our ever popular quote of the day. Now back to the show. So when does entrapment apply? When could that attach? Let's imagine there's a 6-month campaign and there's an ATF agent who's befriending you online. It's probably a quarter of your friends online, just in case you know. In case you heard it here first, okay? Let's imagine if there's an ATF agent who befriends you online through some sort of 2A advocacy forum, through Facebook, through Instagram, through Reddit, through, I don't know, whatever you kids are on these days, okay? Across 6 months, they gradually build your trust. They slowly shift conversations towards manufacturing, maybe some parts that Uncle Sam doesn't want you to be manufacturing. This is YouTube. I can't say everything here, just use your imagination. The agent repeatedly insists that it's basically legal and claims that they know people who do it all the time, they never get into trouble, and they just start harassing you and haranguing you and doing all this kind of stuff. Haranguing's a legal term, by the way. And they finally keep saying things like, come on, come on, come on, don't you want to help restore constitutional rights? Well, you finally might agree, you do something, and then you get arrested. That's something that a well-trained agent understands how far they can push someone. And that's an example of, ooh, are we getting to that edge there, one way or the other? Now, this could be entrapment because we've got sustained inducement across months and months and months. It's not just bumping into someone on a street corner and say, hey kid, do you want this sear? You've got active persuasion against you to try to overcome your initial resistance, which by the way, shows that lack of predisposition. Although by the way, if and when you fold, the prosecutor's just gonna say, he folded. The folded proves the existence of that predisposition. See that circular argument? You did it because you were looking to do it, and you were looking to do it. We know that because you did it. That's the carousel of logic prosecutors set up. They'll leverage social pressure and ideological appeals. Here we're talking about, of course, use of the Second Amendment, restoring constitutional rights, all that other kind of stuff. They're not just offering the opportunity. They're going well beyond that, well beyond that. This is where your defense attorney would probably be saying something to the effect of, look, the agent, the government, essentially manufactured the criminal intent, which wasn't there. There was no predisposition, there was inducement. However, this is very hard to pull off in court as a defense attorney. Courts assume that if you discussed constitutional rights, you were predisposed to act on them. Your participation in 2A groups, well, do you really think a prosecutor is going to let someone onto a jury pool who's going to look at that favorably? Your search history gets introduced, and even with sympathetic facts, entrapment defenses may inevitably fail when they find your meme folder. So when does entrapment maybe not apply? Well, let's look at the undercover buy. An undercover ATF agent poses as a wealthy criminal buyer and contacts known illegal arms dealers, just undocumented purveyors of self-defense equipment. They arrange to purchase unregistered machine gun receivers, let's say. The agent meets the dealer, buys the item, then arrests them. There's no entrapment there because the agent provided opportunity, not inducement. The dealer was already engaged, in this case, in the illegal business, which, trust me, prosecutors are going to use regardless of what we might feel about the constitutionality of FFLs, federal firearms licenses. There's no coercion or sustained persuasion that occurred here, no fraud, at least not as far as what I discussed. The dealer's existing criminal activity is going to be pounded on in court against them to not only get the conviction, but also to send them away for much longer than maybe they would have gotten otherwise. There's one big important exception, and guys, I could be spending hours talking about entrapment. I know this is low resolution. It has to be to cover it in this amount of time. Here's the important exception. Private citizens can't entrap you. Exceptions if, of course, they're acting as a government agent. That's a little different. So that's the one crucial limit here to keep in mind. Entrapment only applies to government agents. If a private individual convinces you to break gun laws, it's not entrapment. The defense exists to prevent government overreach, not to protect you or others from your friend's persuasion. The bottom line here is that the bar to successfully raise entrapment in court is brutally high. Government agents, police, ATF, you name it, are allowed to lie about almost everything. They can be deceptive about their identities. They can run elaborate sting operations across any period of time. Again, unless it triggers inducement. Courts will generally permit all of this. Again, within reason. Your only protection is if the government conduct was so incredibly egregious, just so incredibly outrageous, that it would have broken an innocent person's will to obey the law. I know, but that's what it is. Keep in mind that any case you're looking at raising entrapment as a defense on, there's probably, just being realistic, there's probably going to be decent, if not better than decent, prosecutor arguments to go for predisposition. Now, let me be clear. I am 0% saying don't go on pro 2A advocacy forums. Don't give money to fantastic organizations that fight for your Second Amendment rights. I'm 0% saying that. You should absolutely be doing all of those sorts of things. What I'm also saying is that you need to understand that the government is allowed to set traps. They're allowed to use undercover agents. They're allowed to offer you contraband. They're allowed to run sting operations. They're allowed to do all that kind of stuff. And it does not mean that you have an entrapment defense. In fact, it probably means you have none if they do their job properly. Your actual protection isn't the entrapment defense. It's understanding which activities are legal and illegal and making smart choices. Don't rely on an entrapment defense to save you, because it probably won't. I appreciate you sticking around this long. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe button, share the video to people who need to hear this. Say hi to all your Fed friends on Facebook and in your Facebook groups. I've done videos talking about how that's actually a very real thing. If you want me to do a bigger one about that, let me know down below. We're going to close out with our ever popular quote of the day. This one comes from Patrick Henry, who said, quote, "The great object is that every man be armed. Everyone who is able might have a gun." June 5th, 1778. As always, I'll see you in the comment section. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.